We are here as part of the University of Westminster's initiative for the What Comes Next events. What Comes Next is all about exposing our students to recent graduates of your course areas. All of the students here, or graduates, sorry, second time I've done that, graduates here studied finance in the last few years here at Westminster, and you're all in London financial settings right now. And so the aim of the lecture today, you'll still have your seminar as usual after. The aim of the lecture today is to hear from our fantastic graduates and about what they do. So there's going to be some initial questions from myself. I'll be chairing this discussion, but afterwards you'll be able to ask questions too. Really giving advice of that initial getting in to the graduate workforce, particularly in the London finance sector. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to move over to my seat over here now. And I want to start off. Could you all please just say who you are, when did you study, or when did you graduate, and where are you working right now? So we'll start at the end, please, Samuel, with yourself. Okay, we can share.
Yeah, so my name is Samuel. So you want me to go over what I'm doing, or
what are you doing, and when did you graduate?
Okay, yeah. So started at Westminster 2018, graduated 2021 during sort of COVID, I guess. There was COVID at the time, and a finance business partner for the House of Commons at the moment. So yeah.
Okay, great, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll go along with that.
Hi everyone, I'm Eva. I studied finance at University of Westminster as well, and I graduated in 2021. Upon graduation, I started my career at Louis Vuitton Moët Hennessy, and I'm currently working at Boston Consulting Group as a portfolio analyst.
Thank you so much, Eva. Okay.
Hello everybody, my name is Aurora. Can you hear me? Yeah. I finished studying at Westminster in 2023, and then I continued my studies at Queen Mary University of London, and I did a master's degree in investment banking and finance. So my passion for finance didn't change after my graduation here. Currently, I just finished my graduation 1 month ago, so I'm similar to you, kind of. I'm looking for a job. I'm sending a lot of CVs, and I worked also at an investment fund at my university doing M&A. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, Priscilla here. I'm not a recent graduate, I'm afraid. I graduated in 2019 from finance. I'm currently working as an associate at Alvarez & Marsal. For who doesn't know, it's a consultancy firm, but it's not like the big four, so like PwC, Deloitte, and those ones. It's more similar to a managing consultant, MBB, so Oliver Wyman and that sort of consultant.
Okay, so thank you so much to our panel. The first question I've got to ask you around is about what at Westminster helped you decide what you wanted to go into in finance, and in terms of maybe that's your studies or the events you went to with employers, but then what would you have done different if you were back as a student again as well? So what inspired you to go on the route you've gone, and then what would you do different? And Eva, you're nodding at me, so I think you might have an answer.
So I think my degree helped me quite a lot practically in order to figure out my career. There were 2 modules particularly that I remember. I might be getting the names wrong, but they were portfolio management and commercial finance. Those 2 modules were really data heavy, and we had to use a lot of Excel, be it formulas, pivot tables, financial models, or interactive charts. What that taught me was how to turn raw data into decisions. Both at LVMH and BCG, I do a lot of analysis, and it is because of my degree that I've been able to turn all of this data into actionable insights or strategic recommendations for the companies I'm working for. I also learned that analyst is a very broad term. Because of my degree, I learned that being an analyst is a way of thinking, actually. It's more about asking the right questions, structuring problems, and also being able to tell stories using numbers. In terms of what I'd want to do differently, I wouldn't want to change much, although I do wish I could join some societies, particularly finance related, during my university time. Unfortunately, most of my university was during COVID. Having said that, I do feel very grateful for my career path so far.
Okay, thank you so much. Who wants to go next on this question? Go ahead, please. Thank you.
So I'm really grateful for Westminster Business School because it opened my doors to a lot of opportunities. For example, my exchange at Copenhagen Business School. which I could in some way come along with the more finance courses based on stochastic calculus and quantitative finance. So thanks to that opportunity that your school and my school offered to me, it helped me to go and move forward to my next step, which I did in my master. What I changed? Well, some things that I wish I could have done. One of the things, yes, maybe societies. And of course, engaging in all of the projects and discussions that this organization organized for you. So I would take all the benefit of this because it's really important to engage with professionals and also with your peers. I think it's really advantageous for your personal and career path growth. So for sure I would have maybe attended more of those meetings, which I didn't because I found them a bit like weird. But don't get me wrong, they're not weird at all. They're really, really important. So please do it. And yeah.
Please, yes, go ahead. Thank you.
The thing that I heard earlier that you were saying actually is like internship or any type of things that you can do like this. I think they're very cool and they're very important to really understand what you like or you don't like. So for example, I did an internship when I was in the second year, and there I got the job offer as soon as I finished university. This is why I didn't do the master, and I went there. And my first job experience, very analytical, very cool. But I straight understood there wasn't the place where I wanted to stay more, and that's when I moved to the next job. I started at Fitch, then I moved at NASDAQ, and now I'm working for a consultancy. But I think if I had more internship or more experience, I would have got to understand really well, like faster rather than later. I think that's a head start. Anyone else who comes out of any other university, or when I did my internship, my first internship, everyone else that was in my same internship program had at least 2 or 3 years, 3 previous internship. People have plenty of internship, like people coming from Imperial, from LSE, any other place. And people start very early, like people start doing internship. I don't know if you guys done it, from GCSEs, A-levels, like people do internship all the time. So they already have a lot to write in their CV. For me, I'm Italian, so I never did anything like this before. So I came with a disadvantage. I think that was really weighted because people were like, okay, tell me why when you get to the interview, then they ask you, tell me why you're interested in this job. And if you don't have anything to say in your CV, it's a bit harder to argue, I think. So internship, like the UK things in the government, sounds really cool.
Grant, thank you. Thank you for the endorsement there. Samuel, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think pretty much resonates with what most of everyone said here. I did finance similar to you guys. Yeah. Was obviously so. I think one of the things that I looked at before I even started the course was accreditations. And I remember there was a couple of ones that was available. CIMA was one, and I think it was the CFA. I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah. So from there, I sort of had I tried not to have tunnel vision, but also tried to know which one I wanted to go for, and I think I always sort of deviate more towards management accounting. So a couple of the modules like financial accounting and advanced financial accounting and corporate financial accounting helped sort of solidify that decision. So after graduating, I went to Ministry of Defence actually as a financial reporting analyst, and I started my CIMA accreditation. Like, got the exemptions, and then started the professional ones there. In terms of what I would have wished I'd done was take advantage of like the career advice and the CV reviewing and competency write-ups and stuff, because I mean, it's very cutthroat out there. It can be, you could miss out on a interview just like a few marks sort of thing. So it's always good to have someone look over your CV or competencies or whatnot. Yeah, I think that's slightly different for everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much. Our next question that we want to ask is, what were your biggest worries about going into the employment world, and how did they vary compared to what happened in reality? Okay. Eva, do you want to go again, please? Yep.
So I would say I was not worried enough. I probably should have been, but I was so new to the process, interviewing, first stages, second stages. So I was quite enjoying it. I was learning so much about every company I was applying to. I did around 300 applications for my first job. So it was more of an interesting journey rather than intimidating. However, once I did a few hundred applications, reality set in and I still wasn't able to land a job. And I basically realized that I'm in a very difficult situation because most companies back then were focusing on mass layoffs versus hiring because we were COVID graduates. But I do think in hindsight, it was good that I went through all those interviews, the number of applications as well, because I was constantly refining myself. And then when the right role did come along, the role I really wanted, I was a lot more confident. Interviewing wasn't as scary anymore. Yeah, that's how
Okay.
I got the job.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Go ahead, Samuel.
Yes. Similarly to Eva, as COVID graduate, I had similar worries in terms of finding a job. And similarly, after doing hundreds of applications and not hearing back, I decided to go for public sector because I had a feeling that they were more strained due to COVID. So, and instead of having tunnel vision of just applying for graduate, whilst in uni, I used to do like part-time finance admin roles through agency, sort of like Brook Street or Manpower. They have sort of just financial admin roles as part time. So I did some of those, and I used that experience to try and get into a professional hire as an entry level. So I managed to do that, but the worry was still there, obviously, like of finding a job during COVID and a graduate role as well. So, but how I overcame that was use my experience to try and find a professional hire role.
And would you say from your experience that it worked going via temping agencies, I guess?
Yes, no,
That
definitely,
was-
because the fact is, some experience is better than no experience, sort of thing. And most of the time, you're going to be going for an entry level role anyway. Even if it's a graduate scheme role, yes, by the end of 3 years, they'll put you in a senior role, but you start off by learning the business and doing entry level stuff regardless. So I just started off on that. Within a couple of years, I had understood the business similarly to a graduate role. And if anything, because of the finance degree and the experience, I had a pay increase. So I started on the higher band. So that was a good thing, I guess. So it worked out really well.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, Priscilla, Aurora, anything to add on that question at all?
Well, it's a hard, long journey. So that's what I'm experiencing now. Sending CVs all the time of the days, 100, but never stop losing faith, never stop losing, energy, and always keep navigating into, new opportunities, and also studying every time. So finishing a master doesn't mean you stop finished and studying, and keep informed about, like everyday's life, especially, for such a big field as finance, which is evolving every day. It's important to keep updated and, to have a more kind of like step despite the others to gain that particular job.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
I'll repeat. I think for me, I remember very well when I was doing the application process. It's a daunting process. I started, I think, January, December at this time of the year, and I was doing, I don't know how many applications I did a lot. So I remember getting a lot discouraged. You're going to get a lot of rejection email. I remember every time receiving a rejection email, for me it was like, okay, now I need to start again, keep doing it. And I think it's good to apply, but also when you apply also to some jobs. This might sound bad, but like apply also to jobs that you dislike more, or you think they're not the right fit. Just because if you get to the interview level, it's good to have some test of like actual practice, in real life practice of like how that will go. So apply a lot. But yeah, I mean, eventually you'll get there. So also enjoy the process, I think. And now, for example, if I have recruiter coming, recruiters also are good things if you guys need to find new jobs. But when I have recruiters coming for a new offer, I think it's quite interesting to go to the interview. And it's a lot, I mean, at the beginning, it's a lot of applying and trying to match what the job requires. But you'll see over time, it's also like what the job has to offer for you. And have a lot of that mentality.
Okay. Well, so our next question goes on to when you were successful in getting the roles you're in right now, and or perhaps you could tell us a bit about your application for a master's degree as well, and what that experience was like. And we hear about applying for jobs, people getting jobs by chance for a networking event, but tell us about what was your recruitment process like and if you could start from what was the application like, what did they ask for, and then through to when you got that call saying you were successful. So for your current role. Samuel, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. This sort of goes for the whole of public sector pretty much in terms of civil service and parliament where I am at right now. The application process sort of consists of a two-part thing. So you first do your eligibility checks in terms of right to work in the UK and stuff, and then you have
Would you speak a little higher?
And then you have a process where they'll make you answer a bunch of competencies on strengths such as like working together, leadership, depending on the role. If it's an entry level role, it'll be more technical. If it's more mid-senior or senior, it'll be sort of leadership and strategy and whatnot. So they'll make you answer competencies and a personal statement. And then it's just actually mostly 1 to 2 interviews at most. But the catch here is the competency in the personal statement, you have to make sure that that is above everyone else's, because they do rigorous sifting, and you'll get caught out. Like, there's been times where I've submitted one thinking, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get an interview for this, but I didn't. And then I asked for feedback, and there was a lot better out there. So in terms of process, it was just that. For the current one, as an example, actually for the current one, I actually performed really well, but someone outperformed me by 1 mark. And they got the job, but for whatever reason, they didn't want it. So then I was in the reserve list for another role, and then it came up, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it, because ever since I went into management finance, I've always wanted to get into finance business partnering. So as soon as it came up, I was like, yeah, I'm taking it. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Conscious of order. Priscilla, do you want to go first on this one?
I'll go.
Not first, second. Go ahead.
Should I say this job or my first job after you?
Whichever story you think is most interesting or to share.
I think the current job is a bit different. I think the first is what
Okay.
you're more likely to experience in investment banking, or I started working at Fitch Ratings as a instructor of finance. So when I did my application, my internship, and then I got the job offer, and then I went back after graduating. But when I did my internship, I think I started with applying online. I think applied on LinkedIn, and then online there were some questions and some more like tricky questions. I don't know, like I'm sure you all experienced like those weird questions, like how would you measure how many rice you put in a box, and like you have to come up with some fancy answer. So I passed that, which is the first screening. After that, then I had the HR person calling me and just have a soft introduction of like why I applied and things like this. After that, I was invited to a case study, so I spent there from I think 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. Where they put me in a room, they gave me a massive booklet. I had to read the whole thing. Of course, you can't read it, so you have to find some strategies, and then to make a presentation, I had to present to partners. That got me into the internship. Then during the internship, of course, you work hard. You do what you have to do, whatever. And then if they like you, then you back. Usually that's most of the time is the case. So yeah, that's.
Thank you. Eva, do you want to go next?
Sure. So for Boston Consulting Group, I had nearly 8 rounds of interviews. I got both my jobs at LVMH and BCG on LinkedIn. I came across the jobs on LinkedIn. So then I would go onto the company's careers websites and apply officially using my CV. I did not tailor my CVs according to the roles. The first stage was always the HR reaching out and just doing a bit of my CV screening, verifying where I'm working, what I'm doing, where have I studied, and then moving on. The second stage always involved an interview with the manager, my then manager and now manager. They would ask me some behavioral questions to begin with to ease into the process. The next stage would usually be a technical round where they would test my skills on the softwares or the financial skills that I might require for the role. And then it would go on to a few more interviews with other senior members in the team. And then, of course, the MBB case study is something I had to do, which was the most intense part of my application process at BCG. I was given the case study and around a week to finish it. And trust me, I did take up the whole week to finish it. It was quite intense. But yeah, that's essentially it. And then I got the offer.
Thank you so much, Eva. Okay, Aurora, how about yourself?
Yeah. So the process of CVs and a job application is very long. It's not easy. It requires a lot of effort and a lot of time consuming and a lot of energy. But you can do it. I can tell about my experience at PwC, which is a consulting company, Italian based in Milan. I had 4 rounds of hiring process. I talked to the HR. They asked me case-based studies about, how would I was based in the financial risk team. So they posed me case studies where I should have managed with the partners, and I needed to do presentation as well as my colleagues did. So it was really interesting, and also because it inspired me and helped me also to navigate through myself and to those skills that were hidden. So in some ways, doing these stages and also applying what you learned so far in all those years, in reality it's really, really nice, because you can get to know what you really know, not what you have learned, so you can apply those learning experiences with a real world job.
So we talked about your own journeys, and now keen to go on to, thank you so much, on to job search advice. So I think there's so many options out there to get started with job search. What advice would you give? So just to say you're faced with a lot of second year students in front of you right now. So maybe a year or just under that until started applying for graduate jobs. Now perhaps looking more at internships. Where would you say is the best place for our students to start, or what advice would you say in regards to looking for vacancies or opportunities? Go ahead, Eva, until you're ready.
I would say there's obviously traditional methods such as finding graduate schemes on LinkedIn or internships on LinkedIn, or companies' career websites, but also try to find some creative approach to finding a job. It can be your own. For example, I remember I always wanted to work in Canary Wharf. So I used to walk around Canary Wharf with a notebook in my hand and note down all the office names. And I would then go home and look up all of their careers, and whatever aligned with me, I would apply. And then soon after, I increased the search to all around London. So I was basically on the job hunt every time I'd step out of my house. Everyone I spoke to, I wanted to know where they're working, what they're doing, how did they start their careers. One other tip I would have on LinkedIn would be to add people who are early starters in companies that you want to work for. Try to find certain titles and the company names. It's not that difficult. Just reach out, because they've also gone through something similar not very long ago. They would be very happy to help. I know I'm one of those people, and I always love helping people where I can. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, any other thoughts on panel at all?
Can sort of add on to that. Similar to Eva, what I did was slightly different, but it was so similar in the sense that I would look at sort of friends and families that were already enrolled in certain companies, and studying in finance, every single company has a finance function. So all you gotta do is just find the company name, look into the finance function, and see what jobs and roles are available there. And maybe right now might be a bit harder during COVID. It's a bit hard as well, but a lot of the time, especially after the budgets have gone in for the year, you will find a couple of entry level roles available, and maybe even a couple of graduate schemes. So whilst everyone's got tunnel vision trying to land, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and whatnot, and it's like a rat race out there. Sometimes try and think outside the box and find a reputable company and look for a graduate finance scheme with them. Like John Lewis has one, I know, and they usually advertise on LinkedIn, but you got to be quick. It does go pretty quick. And alternatively, if internships aren't working out, then I'd say some experience is better than none, like last time, and try to get some temp roles in admin, finance admin experience in there at least as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
Ben, thank you so much.
Can I just say something? When you apply, this for me was very confusing, maybe because I'm Italian. When I did the application to the university, when you apply for finance, particularly in any firm, like someone was saying, if you apply for finance in any like Sainsbury's, any kind of firm you think you want to apply, usually it's finance meaning accounting rather than finance meaning strategy or meaning asset management or meaning wealth management, because many companies wouldn't have this. So it's something to bear in mind, not to be disappointed, or also to be in mind, because it's good to try everything, but you also need to bear in mind if you go 3 months and you have to do an internship, it's very likely you end up then getting an offer from them, and then either you try to find something else, or it's very common for people to go back there. So you might just find yourself then you have done 3 years of accounting. And maybe I'm talking this because I know some of my friends that were with me at University of Westminster, they ended up being in accounting. Some of them love it, some of them don't. So something to bear in mind. Finance, sometimes if you read like finance analyst or finance internship, is really accounting.
Good advice. Thank you so much. Okay. Aurora, anything else to add on that point?
I think that you should apply not only in LinkedIn but also other websites like Financial Careers, and particularly also like companies' website where they publish job offers and vacancies. I think it's better for you. But if I were you, I would start from private hedge funds or private company, which are not really known, but where you can really learn from the beginning what does it mean, managing the wealth and the profit of somebody else. So that's where you really learn, and where all the responsibility comes from, and where you are very guided. So that's what I would do if I were you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we've got just 2 more questions left, and then what we're going to do after that, we'll be opening up to the floor for any questions. So, if you're thinking about your CV a lot or your LinkedIn profile, in your own experience, what do you think's giving you the edge? So you talk about applying for roles, and there's going to be questions where you are scored. But what do you think gives you the edge when you're applying for roles? If you're going to have something that features on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. Go ahead, Aurora. Do you want to go first this time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that what company looks for are qualifications. So the more you do, the better. And how you perform to school, the exchange you do, and the master you will do, and all the extracurriculum activities that will be very, very of matter to them. And I'm glad I did what I did in all those years, especially at Westminster with my exchange program and other activities that I did. It's brought me where I am and what I thrills me about my CV. So do as much as you can, and put in your CV all the experiences and activities that might interest you. Also with other courses, online courses from other universities, where you can just kind of develop what will be your future career if you're interested in finance or some specific sector of finance. So I will do that and put your CV, because they really, really look at your qualifications, not only the type of school you've been to.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Who wants to go?
Let's go next.
You.
Go ahead, Eva.
No, you go.
You go.
I'd definitely say I had a slight edge on my CV with the temp agency contracts. I had like 6 months financial admin for government legal department. I had financial admin for other various public sectors, as well as casework and policy work for Home Office. So I had sort of a variation of admin experience, entry level admin experience for those functions. And the other thing I'd say is, it's not really CV, but a lot of jobs do ask for a covering statement, and a lot of the times they say it's optional, but and we just look at it and just do we have to? But a lot of the times it does help, and I can attest to that, because I remember one of the things that I would put into my covering statement is I'm interested in completing my CIMA qualification, and it's something that I prioritize, and I think that helped with landing my job at Ministry of Defence. I know I performed quite well there because I got the feedback. So yeah, I guess I could say that.
Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else? So what do you think made you stand out?
I would say that obviously, like the both of you covered, your work experience, your education, your skills, they're all really important to highlight in your CV. But for me, this is something I did. I added a bit more of my personality to my CV. So I'm really into adventure sports, and I've done bungee jumping, skydiving. I've also rode an ostrich. I did write that in my CV. In every interview till date, I've been questioned about that. That's kind of like an icebreaker, and it kind of gives an insight of who I am, a bit of an insight of who I am to the interviewer. They can see that I'm a risk taker. I like trying out new things. I'm comfortable stepping out of my comfort zone, which are all qualities that they would look for in an early career starter anyway. So yeah, add a bit more of
You
your
found something
personality.
that works.
Yeah.
Yourself.
I would say similarly. I think just sometimes when you apply, make sure, because you're just starting, have like any experience in society you've done, maybe some particular qualification course. I don't know. I remember we were doing, when I was here at university, we did some trading stuff. So like put that if you don't have much. I think when you apply also you put the cover letter. I think it's quite important to think about what you're writing, and another is ChatGPT to expand it and make it personal, and make sure that you show that you really want the position and why you want it. I think as a prompt.
Mm.
Whenever you apply, whenever you speak to a person, everyone is they like when you seem that you really want it, and if they have to decide, they want to see your personality and really that you care about the job, because they receive so many applications. So I think it's a way to make it stand out, and then yes, have something personal. I think also quite help.
Grand. Okay, thank you so much. So the questions we've got listed on here before we open it up to the room. So if you're going to give one or two pieces of advice, what to do now as a second year student, what should they be thinking about, the students in the room, in regards to ensuring that they don't go into a long space of unemployment after university or go back to that part-time job full-time? What steps should they be taking right now to ensure they go into the graduate market quicker after their degree?
I'll go first.
Yeah, Priscilla, go first.
I think apply. I think set up yourself some step and be like, okay, now it's February. I should do a lot of application, put a number to it every day, like be quite diligent, and maybe try once a month to put yourself a goal as like I'm gonna attend at least one event a week or one event a month, whatever that looks like, to make sure you're actively speaking to people. That also helps, even if it doesn't go anywhere, helps you, like then if you get to an interview, you already know the way you need to speak, to engage, type of questions, be curious. I think you should set some goals, and then let's say give yourself a deadline. Let's say if by March or May or April, whatever it is, you still haven't received any offer for the summer, to have the internship for the summer, then maybe double the amount of application you're doing.
Okay,
A
thank you
week.
so much. Yeah, very clear. A lot of work to do then. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Okay, anybody else?
Oh, okay, I can go.
Okay.
So, in terms of when do you want to start, you ideally want to always look around for an opportunity. But I'd like to add one point, because we are all now the generation of AI. Don't use AI a lot to write or like make your CV. You can use AI for like 10% of it to help you make your CV better. But now that I'm on the other side where I'm interviewing people and looking at CVs, it's really evident that AI has been used to make your CV. The human element is what's going to set your CV apart, is what I would say as an advice.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Samuel, you want to come?
Yeah, the AI thing is definitely. I'd like to add on to that. I was there as well. I used AI in the sense that to reword and paraphrase. I guess make it sound right in terms of that 10%. But what it comes down to is they will know if you know what you're talking about in terms of the role and what they're looking for, if you can do the job or not. So look, everyone's used AI. I use AI in other aspects of life. So trust me, they can tell. They can tell when you're blagging and when you actually know the job and the role itself, especially once you're trying to go from entry level to sort of mid senior and whatnot. So yeah, and yeah, I guess that would be it.
Thank you so much. Come back in again, Eva, please.
I would just like to add one more point, that it's okay to not know. In interviews, if you're ever asked the question, I always used to like try to come up with something in the moment, which was probably wrong. And the interviewer obviously was probably laughing in their mind. But it's okay to not know. And what would make you sound more confident and honest is you saying, I don't know about this at the moment, but if I were to try, this is what I would say. Or if I were to assume, if you don't know anything at all, you can just say, I'll use resources like Google or ChatGPT to learn more about this later. But it's okay to not know. That makes you sound better than saying things that you may not know fully about.
I actually had one as my mind went blank earlier there. This is going to sound a bit harsh, I guess, but if you're in a sort of job like a part-time thing or whatnot, from personal experience in the sense I've seen other friends and family do this, and it is quite commonly done. Don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable in the sense that you got an income stream coming in, and yeah, I'll look. Maybe I'll apply for cherry pick jobs and whatnot. That you will find yourself very quickly run out of time, and before you know it, you've gone a year out without finding the role that you want. I know people that have saved up from these part-time jobs and just let go of the job completely and forced them themselves. Even if it's not in the ideal company, they've gone into a financial job. That is if you want to go into finance, which I would hope if you're studying finance you would go into. But yeah, sometimes you just got to take that risk and jump. Like don't be comfortable.
We've also found that a lot when we speak to graduates who aren't yet in a graduate job, that because more graduates live at home with parents after,
Yeah.
and that's quite societally normal now.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do your part-time job full-time,
Yeah.
whether that's a
Yeah.
shop, bar, restaurant.
Yep.
And that does feel like a lot of cash if you're not paying any rent, but it can get comfortable very
Yeah,
quickly.
and I've seen it happen. There are, believe it or not, there are people actually that graduate from the likes of QM, even Boston Group universities, and it took them about 2 years to go into an entry level role. By then, there were people from their similar classes and other universities that had already gone into a mid senior level. Genuinely, comfort will be the downfall.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry, Priscilla, Aurora, do you want to comment at all?
No, I wanted to add that what you said before about the utilization of ChatGPT. It can be beneficial, yes, but I think it's not rewarding because you have to sell yourself to the best offers. So it's your product, your cover letter. So I think it's better for yourself and for everything you did so far to to get that job because you did it, not because someone else had to. So that's really important. And Also, recruiters and companies, they appreciate much more if you say, no, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, rather than say, yes, I know, but at the end, you have no idea. So just be yourself always.
Thank you so much for saying that.
I think for me, like, I have a bit of clarity. Was I think it's hard at your stage, but like what you want to do next. If the idea is after university as a graduate, you definitely want to go to work. I think about an internship really helps. You'll find that if you don't do an internship now the second year and then you finish next year, you'll be a big disadvantage because a lot of people would have done internship the first year, the second year, and maybe even after during like Christmas holiday, you know, like in December, maybe they do a week, or like springtime, people do a week. So definitely if you're thinking about not going for a master, definitely try to get an internship this year, so this summer. If of course you're going for university, I don't know if it's for master, if it's better to have an internship. I have no
I think
idea.
it's always better, whether you do a master or whether you're not, because you keep learning constantly, and it also helps you, to understand if that's really the kind of field that you want to do in future. You can always, in time, to change. So of course, even if you do or don't do a master, it's always a plus for you. So definitely do it.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, panelists. I'll let you have a sip of water if you'd like. So students in the room, I didn't pre-brief them to say do an internship, by the way. That's something I definitely was pushing to you all last semester. What questions do you have for these graduates who are literally in your shoes, sometimes 3 or 4 years ago? What questions do you have in the room? I'll let you take a moment to think. Massar, you will ask a question. And then I will start picking on some names because I know some of your names from last semester. So Massar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Thanks so much. I have one question only, which is like, how relevant and useful is what you learned in here in the university, your current roles? So, if you don't mind.
I can say that. I'd say it depends on which side of the industry you go into. I'm more in management accounting and sort of just accounting in general. So while I did actually just pure finance, I didn't do the financial accounting stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that I have to be wary of, depreciation, MPV, stuff like that. You'd find yourself like, okay, would I actually use much of it? I'd say you will a lot of the time, especially when you are making decisions and whatnot, and you have to do different models, financial models and whatnot. You will end up using them. So you can't just wing it.
What you learned at university to your jobs.
I think to have a general understanding of finance, you get that's a good ground, a good base. You see, like at least when you apply for jobs, certain people come with that business or management, and when they apply for a financial job, maybe they get it, but they really don't understand what finance means. At least for me, that I didn't study anything related to finance or economics. The overall course really helped me, and I think compared to other universities, I think Westminster is very practical. So like you can make it very real. That I really enjoyed.
And also the attention that professors give to you, it's really important. At least my experience, I had brilliant professor that I adored, still now I adore. So it's really important because they are really next to you, they help you in anything, and they are always available. So whenever you have doubts and you don't understand anything, just ask, because they're here for that reason. And don't be shy and just do it, because that's about your path, what you're doing. So you have to understand everything. So yeah.
As I previously covered, like right now, these things may seem a bit technical or you don't really know where it all adds up in the bigger picture. It does. You do develop certain skills during university that are really transferable and are required in your career going forward. So, like I mentioned, the 2 modules that really impacted a lot of my career. So, yeah, definitely take inspiration from whatever you're learning. And yeah, it's a good place to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those endorsements. And obviously you came back.
We
as
weren't
well,
paid
so,
for this.
Any questions from the audience at all? Media, I can see you smiling. This suggests you may have something. Or the room you have a sad face now.
I wanted to ask about the loans and repaying it. I know from before it was less expensive, and now I don't know if you've seen the news, but there's been a lot with like interest rates increasing and like doubling in 5 years, and you try to pay it off. And I think there was a story where this guy had 64,000 to repay, and now it's 75. So what is your like advice? Because some people, they say that, it comes out of your salary and you don't really see it, like you shouldn't even think about it. And other people are like very, very stressed about repaying it.
This is the BBC News story on Saturday.
Yeah.
yeah. So how does the student loan?
So I'll be honest, I don't feel it much. Not to say that earning bank or anything here, but it does obviously affect in terms of what sort of salary you're on, tax and everything like that, in terms of how much is obviously cut. But generally, the way I look at it, if you're in your second, third year, you've got not much of a choice. It's going to go out at some point, and especially, let's face it, even an entry level role, nowadays it's at least 30, so you're going to be paying something regardless. At the sort of lower end and of the salary sort of spectrum in terms of average London salary, you're not going to feel it, and trust me on this, because it depends how you manage money. But a lot of the times you find if you were to just go out in London now, buy yourself a coffee, given how expensive certain things is now, it just, you're going to think of it like, or it's at least good to think of it in the sense that it's like as if I've just got another expense, and it's not that big of an expense. Yes, everyone would like that odd £80, £100 a month extra, but I see it as, because I had my degree, and obviously it was already done by then, I had a pay increase, whereas everyone else in that floor, in my team, they were on the lower end of the salary band. And I can't say the same that's going to be the case in private sector, but definitely the case was in public sector. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
No, I'm gonna- I think the financial advice, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And I studied earlier, so for me, it happened. I graduated, then I went to the job, and then I changed job. I was working at Nasdaq, and then COVID happened, so I started working from home. And then there wasn't much to do. So the financial advice I had by senior person, but they told me is, if you have savings and you have something that pays you more than what the interest is costing. So, like for example, if you're paying 3.5% of your loan, if you have any savings that pays you higher, then you should put the money in the saving. Otherwise, you should pay down your loan. For me, I remember I was shocked when I was at Fitch and I started. I think they were removing £50 from my salary, and then COVID happened and I discovered that from the £50 that they were taking from my monthly salary, only 47% was going to pay the interest, and just £3 were going through the repayment of the loan. So during COVID, I repaid on my loan. So that's what I would say. Like, if you have anywhere, and maybe it comes with a compromise. I'm not saying go on holiday, or maybe of course that when they're working, you want to also enjoy your life. But if you don't have anywhere that pays you higher than the interest you're paying on the loan, I would say definitely repay it and make voluntary repayment faster, I think, so that you decrease the amount that you have. Unless you're planning not to have anything for the next 20 years and it gets right off.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you so much. No. Okay, thank you. A really interesting question there. Okay, other questions from the room? Let's have a look.
Can we ask them questions?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can ask.
Can I ask, how many of you are applying for internship or are applying for internship?
Hands up properly, everybody. If
Yeah.
you want. Our colleague here could have just been saying, "Okay, I'll give you one." You got to have your hand up.
In my job, it has been like we had. You should maybe apply. I don't know, it's a particular company, but we had interns coming. Like we have it. I don't know, in BCG.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a quite. Yeah.
Which is essentially an internship as well. Yeah, we do hire people that are in their penultimate year, which is where you are.
Any questions you want to ask me? I've got a question about LinkedIn. Across the panel, LinkedIn's came up a lot, and it is often kind of promised to be this great Pandora's box. Like, LinkedIn's amazing, get on LinkedIn, it will solve all your problems. But in reality, it can be quite a frustrating space. Yeah. What really is the priority? I guess the priority for your profile, but then also the priority for the messages you're putting out there. So it's two questions. What would you recommend for the profile? And what would you recommend for how you're messaging, how you're interacting, let's say?
I use LinkedIn, and I still use it quite a fair bit. But look, it's like trying to put it into a social media perspective here. It's like Instagram. If you're going to put a reel on there, there's tons of reels on there. There's no say that yours is going to be a catch, it's going to go viral, sort of thing. So it depends on the content, like you said, what you're putting in there, and you got to be aware of what you're putting on there. I use LinkedIn instead of trying to land the job, to just see and sort of scope out what jobs are available. A lot of the times, it's an algorithm based. So if you're looking for certain types of jobs, it's going to sort of push those sorts of jobs to you. And so the current role I'm in, Finance Business Department for House of Commons, I was applying for a lot of those types of jobs, and I was just searching using keywords and whatnot to search for those sorts of roles on LinkedIn. And this was sponsored or advertised to me. So if I didn't actually see it, and at the time I didn't know much about House of Commons, so because it was pushed to me, obviously I clicked onto it and I saw it. But everything else is just down to you. Your profile, your CV, your person, everything else is down to your hard work and whatnot. LinkedIn is just like any other job market. They've just got a better algorithm. That's how I see it. Sort of thing.
Any other thoughts on how best to use it?
I did come across both my jobs on LinkedIn. I did apply on the company's careers website, but the job was advertised on LinkedIn. And lately also, in every few days, I do just like doom scrolling on LinkedIn to see what else is out there. I do see like a lot of interesting jobs and nice opportunities are advertised on there. And I would also pay a lot of emphasis on making my profile quite professionally ready in a manner where HR usually does have a look at your LinkedIn if something on your CV isn't very clear, or it's also a way of verification of whether you've actually studied at University of Westminster or worked at BCG, for example, because you do have to use your work email or your university email to verify those things. So yeah, keep it up to date. Have everything on there. You don't need to write 2 pages of essays, but just a few bullets essentially. Any languages, any skills, Excel, VBA, all of that. It does really help.
Thank you so much. Any other thoughts yourselves?
I agree with her. I think that LinkedIn is like the first page of a book where people get to know you. So you should kind of like make it nice, right? So I think whatever you have, qualification, dissertations, what you like, what you're interested in, just interact, because people do see these things, and it's very, very useful, especially for people who are looking for, students, and they don't know you. It's the only way they can get to know you. So it's better if you make it presentable and nice for them and reflect what you are, because they read everything.
I think not much that for me. I'm not much on social media, so I'm probably the worst person here. I use LinkedIn as just an understanding what's out there in the job market. I think I do it regularly to date to see what what is there. Yeah, and definitely have like your page with your photo, maybe, or like an idea of literally everything you studied or interest that you have and qualification, and then here this. If you have an internship or you did any society, I think definitely have it there.
Okay. Any other questions from the room, please? This is your opportunity. There's going to be a networking bit afterwards where you can come and say hello. So I'm going to come towards one of our final questions, because I'm conscious we've been grilling you now for about an hour, and it is about networking. So I think, Priscilla, if I start with you referenced going to at least one networking event a month. Networking events is something we put on a lot here at Westminster, but how should our students approach those networking events? Because they can be quite awkward, because you're going into an event where you don't know anybody and you kind of got to work the room. But what advice would you have, little top tips to how to get through networking events?
I think, like, for me, what I always work is like, don't be shy and be very personal. Everyone is very usually I think 90% of the cases, everyone is very approachable, and if you look interested and really want to know what the person is about or understand more, they're always very happy to share. So, and for me, the top tips is you read about jobs, but I think at the beginning you don't really know what you like. So even asking the person what's your top tips or what you really dislike about the job, usually don't expect what you dislike about the job, but that's where the person really says something more real. What you like, usually they come with the classic, or what you dislike about the job is also very true. And to see how that resonates with you, I think really helps. So I think, being personal and open.
Thank you. Eva, do you want to go next?
Yeah, just building on to the LinkedIn point I mentioned earlier, and in terms of networking, I've had many instances like this, and I don't know if any of you had as well, but University of Westminster alumni has worked in almost every company out there. And, if I want to apply for a job, a set company, I would be able to find people who have studied at Westminster and are working in those companies. And there's that mutual ground. So it's really easy to just reach out to them and be like, hey, we both studied at the same university. I was wondering what the work culture is like in your company, or would you be able to refer, or however those conversations go. So finding a mutual ground also, if it's a complete stranger, really helps. And networking doesn't always have to be beneficial that, oh, if this person is able to refer me, let me talk more to them. You can always talk more to people, to understand more about what they're doing. It can help you broaden your mindset a bit. I learned a lot about the fact that having finance jobs aren't necessarily restricted to financial industry by speaking to people. That's how I ended up in a luxury company doing finance. And then yeah, well,
I can go next just to add on actually kind of to my answer in the sense that with LinkedIn as well, going back to it, it is a social media network, so you can do networking there. After getting my House of Commons role, I was actually approached by someone asking me how I found the application process and what they would have to do if there is anything out there. So they were asking me, and believe it or not, going back to sort of being presentable, I guess going into that role, I had someone pop up from a recruitment agency asking if I wanted a role in Chubb's Insurance. But obviously, I was happy where I am and I just started. But yeah, I think networking, the other thing, it's easier said than done. I was kind of like that in the sense that there's so many networking events out there. Unless I had sort of a friend to go with, I was just like, no, I don't want to go on my own because there's too many unknown people. So it's easier said than done in the sense of going, but it's worthwhile just to take that step and go, because you could end up meeting someone, I don't know, from a good consultancy group, and you could hit it off with them, and then let me follow you on LinkedIn, and then follow that up on LinkedIn by saying, hey, it was really nice to meet you, let me know if there's anything. And believe me, I know people that have landed jobs in the Big Four like that. So it's not about what you learn. Someone said it's about what you know, but it's also about who you know sometimes. So networking, that's what networking is. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And
Yes, I agree. Networking is very important, especially nowadays where everything is about who you know and networking. But I think that if you're valuable, if you studied a lot and you keep yourself updated, it doesn't matter who you know, but you will be valuable anyways. So yeah, it's important. But it's important, of course, networking.
so I'll say this last question slowly, and then we're going to go into a networking session as well, so you can come and meet some people who are in your shoes just a few years ago, and meet our fantastic alumni in the front if you'd like. And that is if any of our students are interested in getting into your area of the world, so your area of the finance industry or the finance area of the industry you're within, what advice would you give? That could be literally, how do you apply for a job in your company, or if it's something in public sector, something in luxury brands, what would your advice be to get access to that area of finance? So it's quite a tough question that I didn't pre-warn you on. Or what would you say the route would be, or good steps to take on the way there? Priscilla, go ahead, please. Yes, thank you.
I think it depends on the job. So, for example, for my current job in consultancy, you have to do a case study, but it's a different case study. So, like more problem solving, thinking about the box. It's more managing people as well. So, like going prepared, things like this. While my first job was more quantitative, and definitely my first job when I had to do the internship, reading the news was the main thing. There was one bit of the news that totally random. My father just sent me, was like, oh, have you read this? And I remember the day before the interview, I opened and it was on the Financial Times. I happened to read it. And then that was literally came after doing the case study. So I think that really helped me. Yeah. So yeah, being informed, I think.
Yeah.
And remember, as a student of Westminster, you get free access to Financial Times as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I would also like to just add that if you already know the company you want to work for, or like the industry you want to work for, you're always going to be asked in interviews why this company or why this industry. And a few ways to answer that question could be any interaction you've had with that company. So, for example, for luxury industry, you could say that you've seen the products, you've seen how timeless they are, anything like that, or you really like the founder story, for example, of the company. I personally really liked how BCG was founded over 60 years ago, and how a little tiny office is now a really big empire. And that's something I also ended up mentioning in my interviews, which made them realize, oh, I've learned a lot about the company. So something like that. And the third point would be keeping up to date with the current affairs of that particular company or industry, like Priscilla mentioned, always stands out, those points.
Mine is obviously slightly different to these guys. I'm more in the public sector. So in terms of wanting to look into public sector, I'd say it depends. If you're most likely you're going to be looking at graduate schemes, or the gold standard for public sector, I guess, is the fast stream. They have certain dates. The FastStream one, I can't give you the dates because I'm not 100% sure. But if you just Google FastStream finance function, you'll find the date in terms of when it opens and the deadline. And with regards to HMRC, there's actually a tax specialist program I know that's I think October.
With these students,
And
there's
believe me, I
150
think
vacancies.
speaking from someone that's worked in various departments, HMRC is probably the gold standard in terms of civil service. Their pay bands, benefits, everything, is above everyone else's. And there's a lot of roles to go around as well. They get a lot of funding and whatnot. So it's a good spot to be in. So that's a good shout, the tax specialist. And when trying to apply for those, I'd say make sure you brush up on something called SJTs, situational judgment tests, and the verbal and numerical tests. So that's it. Have preparation for those. And going back to what I said earlier, make sure you have or try to have the uni maybe look at competencies because they will definitely sift through that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much. And then, Laura, is there anything you'd like to add as well?
I can add about I think that the background and the foundation at which an IB or a consulting company is made of, it's very important because you develop a sense of belonging towards that company. So I would do a lot of research about that, and also how their ethic and moral standards are, how they treat, for example, employees, what they do. So I would go and study much deeper the foundations of a specific company before applying and going to that process, because every company is different, and also how the way they treat employees, which is very important nowadays, it's different. So I would suggest you to do that, and always keep informed, keep yourself in the process, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much to our panelists for all of your fantastic advice. I think you might be able to add them on LinkedIn as well, and they can always reject you, I guess, but I'm sure they're open to build their ads up. It's been really, really useful. So thank you. Please go around. Thank you so much.